This episode of Talkin' About Rock is sponsored by Unleashed Music. Drawing on years of experience, contacts, and partnerships, Unleashed Music is uniquely positioned to platform, develop, and realize the vision of artists of all genres. Achieve your goals by partnering with Unleashed Music and take advantage of their decades of experience to help you create and execute your marketing campaign. Visit unleashedmusic.com for more info.
On this episode from Blackfoot and Lynyrd Skynyrd, Rickey Medlocke talks with us about the Rickey Medlocke Band. Talk About Rock, sponsored by School of Rock, North Buffalo, where they're making musicians every day. Hello and welcome to this episode of Talking About Rock. I'm Rob Edwards. Here we bring you rock interviews from veteran and upcoming artists. Subscribe on our YouTube channel to stay up to date. Follow us on our social media and our website, talkingaboutrock.com. Today's guest is best known for being the frontman and guitarist for the southern rock band Blackfoot and a member of Lynyrd Skynyrd. He was inducted into the Native American Music Hall of Fame in 2008. With us now to talk about his new single, Rise Again, let's welcome Rickey Medlocke. Hello, Rickey.
Hey, Robert. How are you doing, man?
Great, man. Great. So the new single, man, really seems to speak to the overwhelming obstacles and finding strength, really. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, my hat's off to my partner, Mark Warple. He actually ended up being the writer, mostly the writer of the song. And we had the song bouncing around us for several years. And this thing came about because, we put out the first single by myself. We had the Rickey Medlocke Band thing come about. And we knew we had to have songs to be able to go out and promote and, to play gigs and, so forth and so on. I wanted to do it because, first of all, when Skynyrd goes on hiatus, they're on hiatus for month after month after month.
Right.
And I get bored very, very easily.
Right.
I got too much energy, and my significant other would tell you, it's not good when Rickey gets bored, So we put together the band, and we knew we had to have material to go out and promote. We couldn't go out and do gigs without having something to promote. We knew that. So what we ended up doing was we did the first single was Never Run Out of Road, and that was back in January. Now we've just released this one about 2.5-3 weeks ago. And I think today would be 3 weeks ago today we released it. Well, the lyrics speak about the rise in you've been down and, you've been kind of going about your way. And it's about coming to grips with you need to get up again. You need to go forward again. Be as positive as you can and try to make something happen in your life. And that also speaks for what I have a vested interest in, which is the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement. It's very special to me, to bring forth the attention to try to bring forth the attention to people out here in the world about an epidemic of great proportions that has been going on for many, many years, for decades after decades, dating all the way back probably at the turn of the century in the 1900s, just now coming out about how children were abused at Indian boarding schools and, that whole bit. There has been in the past, natives felt less than a citizen. You know what I mean?
Right.
They were never counted, never being counted. And hey, I'm part Native, you know, and very proud of it. I mean, and you know, I try to have a voice, and I try to voice an opinion to help out with, you know, whenever I can. So the important thing for me was when we did this deal with Rock the Cause Records, their whole thing is to pick, you know, as many, you know, charitable foundations as you want. And my whole thing was to direct it at this whole MMIW problem. And through a great friend of mine, his name is Gil Birmingham. He's one of your characters on the show Yellowstone. He's the tribal chairman. And Gil is, you know, in the entertainment business, has been in the film business for many, many years. You know, he was the father of the wolves in the Twilight series and, you know, in the wheelchair. He did a movie for Taylor Sheridan, which he does work for Taylor, you know, with Yellowstone. He did a movie called Wind River with Jeremy Renner. So I got a hold of Gil and asked him at the time, do you know a good charitable organization that I can go to donate part of the proceeds for Never Run Out of Road? He said, well, I said, I noticed you guys had an episode in Yellowstone where you touched on that subject, and Taylor Sheridan had made the movie Wind River, and that was all about that.
Right.
So he said, let me get to Taylor, because he says, I know Taylor donates to, you know, an organization. He came back at me short time later and said, the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center is who he donates to. And that did it. I mean, I was all about it after that. And so now, you know what? We're doing the same thing. We're donating part of the proceeds to the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. Also, the Dreamcatchers charitable organization, which is up in Canada, and they help do so much for Natives in Canada and America. So, you know what, man, I feel good about this. Rise Again is all about rising up, taking control, being positive, and going forward in your life, you know, and making something happen.
Yeah, definitely a great cause, definitely. So let's take a quick break here and let's listen to the new single, Rise Again. We'll be right back here with Rickey Medlocke on Talking About Rock.
It started out with one desire, one single dream burned my heart like fire. I fought the hunger and the wolves of time. I touched the water and the river ran wild. I'm looking back on fields of dust and ash, gonna say my goodbyes with the smoke and rise. I'm starting over, gonna shed my skin. I'll spread these wings, I'm gonna fly again. No time for doubt, no time for the pain. Gonna take back my world and rise again. I've read the pages of these words I've said, books on dusty shelves, many stories unread. Memories play like movies, days
Okay, we're back here on Talking About Rock with Rickey Medlocke Band. Such a
Yeah,
great
man.
Southern rock track you got on here, and you started at an early age. I was reading, raised by your grandparents and
Right.
working with your grandfather, Paul Shorty Medlocke. He was a bluegrass musician who taught you miniature banjo to start with, I guess, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, he started teaching me how to play banjo, bought me a miniature one, and taught me how to play starting at the age of 3. And, he was on a country music show when he was off the road from playing with other people. He was a road guy, and he played 7, 8 different stringed instruments, and he played them well. I've often said he had far more talent than I do. And he would come home and he would appear on this show that simulcast and went out all over the South, Southeast, Mid-South, and it was called the Toby Dowdy Show. And he went to Toby one time and he said, "Hey, look here, I've taught my grandson how to play banjo, and I'd like to bring him on the show and us do a song." And Toby said, "Well, how old is your grandson?" He said, 3. He said, "Come on." And my old man said, "No, let me bring him on." So he brought me on. I've got pictures of it. And he brought me on the show and we did a song. And the cards and letters came into the station to the show that was overwhelming enough that they brought me back. And I stayed on the show for 5 years till I was 8 years old. And,
That's excellent.
in the midst of it all, I took up playing guitar when I was 5. And I love the guitar. I mean, that was it. I also took up playing drums when I was 8 years old because my dad, he had a band and he, I took up playing that because at some point he needed a drummer in his band and I fulfilled that. And then later went on to join Lynyrd Skynyrd in the very formidable years as an original drummer. And, it paid off. Learning how to play different instruments definitely can pay off at some point.
Definitely. There's a list of stuff you got here, mandolin, keyboards, obviously
Right.
drums, taught yourself to play guitar, and you formed Blackfoot, I think, from your first band going back,
Right.
Fresh Garbage. Turn that
Yes.
into Blackfoot originally, right?
That was a hell of a name, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was an attention getter, right?
No, we just, it was a lot of people often ask me, how did you come to get that name? Pick that name, Well, there was a band called Spirit,
Right.
Back in the 60s, late 60s. And they had a song called Fresh Garbage on their album. And we just thought it was a cool name as we said, hey, let's call the band that. I bet nowadays a good punk rock band would love to have that name.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they would kill over that name. And you guys had some successful albums there with Blackfoot and
oh yeah.
In the 70s and 80s,
Yep.
Strikes in 79, Tomcat in 80, and Marauder in 81. And
Yep.
then I was also reading, so you grew up with the members of Lynyrd Skynyrd also, right?
Oh yeah, because we played back in the mid to late 60s. We played the same teen clubs or, the comic book club in Jacksonville, the Forest Inn, Good Shepherd, Woodstock Youth Center. I mean, the list goes on. And we played them, with our own prospective bands, but I was always around the guys. And as a matter of fact, Ronnie Van Zant, Johnny Van Zant and Donnie, their parents used to come to my dad's dances that he would have in and around Jacksonville. So that's how I grew up around the Van Zants.
Yeah.
Knowing them. And then lo and behold, what did I do? I joined Lynyrd Skynyrd as a drummer in early 71, played with them through late 72 and recorded Lynyrd Skynyrd's first and last record and the Muscle Shoals collection. And there you go. I mean, that was my tenure with the band. I left, did Blackfoot, and then wouldn't you know it, lo and behold, in '96, I come back with Lynyrd Skynyrd, and here I am today, you know?
Right. And I was reading, you had thought about maybe pursuing a different career or something until you got that phone call from Gary Rosington to kind of say, come on back, right?
I had thought about it. I'd been out on the road with the band and just putting out records that never did anything and just kind of beating my head against the wall. And I used to do these. I used to go into radio stations and take the place of their morning teams. And I would be a sit-in jock for a whole week. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I developed my own kind of shtick, my own character.
Right.
Wasn't as bad as the Grease Man, but it was pretty awesome, But I almost took a job in Colorado Springs, Colorado, at a radio station there. They offered me a very lucrative contract, and I almost took it. But then I got the invitation to go up to Atlanta to be with Gary and the guys when they premiered Freebird the movie. And they had an all-star jam that night. And I took part in that. Got an overwhelming response from the audience at the Fox Theater when I stood out on stage and played a highway song right by myself with an acoustic guitar. And little did I know that their manager was talking to my manager about putting me back in the band, that Gary had been talking about it for years. And so the next thing you know, I get this incredibly funny phone call. It's kind of been out there now that everybody kind of knows it, but when we used to have the answer machines, they had the little tape in it.
Right.
I was at my studio here in Fort Myers, and I said, I better check my messages. And so checked the messages, and there was one message on there, and the message said, "Hey, Brother Rickey, it's Gary Rossington. I want you to learn I Ain't the One, Saturday night, That Smell, and Freebird, the way Alan played it, the rhythms and the leads." And he said, "I'm going to come down to Fort Myers next week, and I'm going to audition you. And if you pass the audition, I'm going to put you back in the band and give you $1.50 in a Snickers bar." Well, needless to say, I passed the audition, and they put me in the band. And Gary said, "Rickey, you're about the closest thing to Alan that I could want to put back in the band." And, I thought it was the greatest honor in my life, to go into the band and honor those guitar parts that Alan played. And so all of a sudden I'm in the band and everything's going along for quite a few years. And one night we play a gig and we come out of the backstage of the arena to get on the bus, and we get up on the bus, and I look up on the counter there in the front galley, of the bus, and there was a Snickers bar with $1.50 wrapped up in it.
He had it waiting for you.
And then there was a note next to it that said "paid in full."
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're so glad you got that call, definitely. And that just had to be so amazing to hear those words from Gary and make you feel so good.
Oh, yeah.
And in this day and age now, if you ever wanted to do some type of music show or podcast, you can do that kind of stuff whenever you want nowadays, like we're doing here, right?
Well, I've been offered several times, I've been offered the spot of being able to do radio and do a podcast. At some point, I wouldn't mind exploring that, I would like to also do an audio book, like of my life, telling stories. I don't really want to do a book as such. Rock and roll guys doing books, it's all about, they started out, here, they rose up to there, they had their struggles with whatever, and they fell again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I personally would love to do an audio book to where I start at the beginning of my life and tell stories. Tell the stories of, what I ended up, how I started as a kid, as growing up, getting into bands, all the bands that I used to love to listen to. And you know what? I might even start it on Instagram, like once a week, going in on Instagram, starting it, tell a story, and that'd be it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. People, us as fans, we love to hear that stuff. Like what happened back in the day and what got you there and what memories and stories you have from, growing up or the road, your experiences. Sure.
Right. And create reels, on Instagram, because I kind of shy away a lot of times from Facebook. I mean, the Rickey Medlocke Band and Skynyrd, has Facebook pages, and I shy away from doing that, and I shy away from doing X, and I do post stuff here and there on Instagram, but I'm not one of these guys that likes to get on there and talk trash and and all that kind of stuff. It's what, to me, it's a waste of time, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I see a lot of people get in all these mudslinging contests, on these internet things.
Right.
And you know what, man? If you ain't got nothing better to do with your time, stay off. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. People I mean, it's a 24/7 comment platform, all of them. Right. So everybody's got the right to speak their mind whenever they want, whatever crazy thing they want. I have to go through, tons and tons of stuff on our social media and weed out some of the crazy. So I hear you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. But all right. So great, man. All right. So very, very cool. We're so glad, you stuck it out with Skynyrd and you stayed on that path. And folks, so check out the new single, Rise Again. It's out now. You can order it at rickymedlocke.com. It's also streaming now. I want to thank our guest today, Rickey Medlocke, and thank you to our sponsors, School of Rock North Buffalo and Unleash Music, and to all our listeners and viewers. Thank you for helping us keep the torch alive. Continue to support live music wherever you are. Thank you so much, Rickey, man.
Talking about rock, baby.